morning shine, shine, shine. Las Vegas, shine your light on me.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight with your award-winning host, Dale Davidson. Dale interviews fascinating guests from top-ranked celebrities to people just like you who have an important story to tell. For more than 15 years, Dale is broadcast every week from the fabulous Las Vegas Strip. He finds the people who really make Las Vegas a one-of-a-kind city and lets the world know just what's happening in this remarkable town. You'll discover why 50 million people visit the entertainment capital of the world every year. Stay tuned for another exciting episode of Las Vegas Tonight.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson. Thank you for joining us today. You're really going to be glad you did. Believe you me. We have a terrific guest. His name is Keith Thompson. He is an impresario and a conductor and an arranger and a great guy. And we're so pleased to have him on Las Vegas Tonight. Keith, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate it. So it's kind of an old-fashioned word, impresario.
I know, it's a good word.
Isn't it a good word?
Yeah.
So you are one. Explain what an impresario does.
It's kind of like somebody who creates things and comes up with ideas and rallies people together. And impresario. It's more like a entrepreneur kind of a thing, but more in the world of music.
In arts, yeah. And that's exactly what you've done with the Composer Showcase. Let's talk about that a little bit, and then I want to skip back to your early years, but that's what you're doing right now.
The Composer Showcase is an ongoing thing. We've been doing it in Las Vegas for 16 years.
I had no idea till I read your bio that it's been going that long. You had it at the Liberace Museum.
We started at a little small club in the Fruit Loop area near the airport.
Okay.
I call it a seedy little boîte, which is another name for a dive. And we just found it because a friend of mine came to me and said, why don't we get together? There's several of us writers who are in town right now, and we're all writing musicals that we want to send to Broadway, and we're all in the process, so why don't we just share our stuff with each other one night after the show?
Right.
And so there was like 4 of us, and we got together and did it, and it was the coolest thing ever. It was so exciting and they were like, yeah, that was fun, and I was like, no, this is great. So I kept it going.
We need to keep doing this.
Yeah, and so I just kept going, and so we became kind of like a regular thing. It was free to the public. It was the community would come together after their shows. Everybody's real hungry and thirsty after a show, so we would have a social time, and we would do this. And then the Liberace Museum, the people there reached out to us and said, we have a little cabaret showroom. Would you like to come do it there? And it was so much nicer than the seedy little boîte. And so we said, yeah, if you can get us a bar and a buffet, we're there. So we did. And we did it for 3.5 years until the museum finally had to close for a lot of reasons. The foundation's still alive, but the museum is closed.
Yes.
And so we waited about 1.5 years. We did it other places here and there until finally the Smith Center opened.
Yay.
And then the world just opened up.
What a great venue.
Beautiful venue.
Yeah, and you're in Myron's Cabaret, which seats 200 or 300? 250? Yeah. Okay.
It's Myron. It's now called Myron's. It used to be called Cabaret Jazz.
Right.
And then they've been in process, and when they came back from the pandemic, they just dropped everything and just called it Myron's.
Myron's.
Yeah. Which is fine.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful cabaret space. So it's like tables and chairs, like cabaret tables, they call them. And it's
named after the president of the Smith Center.
Yes, Myron Martin. And his idea was to have something that that was like the cabaret rooms in New York and San Francisco and Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what he wanted at the Smith Center, and he got it.
And you limit it to composers only. They will perform, but there are no covers. right?
What? No. It was covers. In other words, songs that other
Yeah.
people. No,
Yeah.
unless the person who wrote the cover comes.
Okay.
Like, we actually have had that happen a couple
really?
of times. Yeah.
Really?
There's a guy named Michael Peterson here in town who's written some #1 hits in Nashville.
Wow.
And he came, and there was another guy who wrote a song with Ricky Lee Jones, and he came one
yes.
time and had somebody sing his song. I call it a cover because I grew up listening to that song. The writer was there in the room. And so
isn't that great?
So that kind of thing happens every once in a while.
Yeah.
But mostly it's about promoting original music,
Yes.
new music,
Yes.
and taking the writers and the lyricists, the songwriters and composers, and giving them a platform.
What a great thing you're doing.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And the thing that it does the most is that it pulls the community together.
Yes.
Because the community, people who are fans, people who are supporters, people
Yes.
who are artists who want to be a part of it, some people who've never written before will go, oh, if I want to be part of this, I have to learn how to write a song. And so they do.
It motivates them.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that is so great.
Yeah.
You have an extensive and impressive resume in musical theater and all kinds of music. Let's travel back to your childhood for a minute.
Okay.
And tell me how you end up being a big shot in the music world the way you are now.
Well, I was the TO, that's a theological offspring. I was a preacher's kid.
Yeah, PK. We're familiar.
In the South, and my dad was a minister and Southern Baptist at first, and then he branched out. He, like, at one point bought a tent, and we traveled around doing that.
He went doing revivals. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, people like to shout and speak in tongues and raise the dead and heal the sick and things like that.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Oh, yeah, it was, and that's how I got into show business.
Is that right?
Yeah, oh yeah, because it
it's
was
a
all
show.
show business.
Believe me, it's
and
a
in fact,
show.
I had musical talent. Both my sisters had musical talent. My mother played the piano. My dad actually could, like, pick up a violin and play the trumpet. But so there was a lot of talent in our family.
Yes.
And so it just came naturally. And everybody else, both my sisters did other things, like psychology and marketing and things like that. But I was like, I don't know how to do anything else. So I'm a musician.
That's wonderful.
First and foremost. And then consequently also now a director, producer, and I bring people together to create musical projects.
Oh yeah, you've done some really impressive things.
Thank you.
Yeah. You are a big shot. I know you wouldn't call yourself that, but you are one.
I'm not. You know what I do is I just bring people together, and there's something beautiful about when a community comes together, and they blame it on me, and just say it's my fault. But
the last stop of blame is the producer's job. You know that.
I think you're right. No, but I mean, I was in the South for all those years, high school, college. I learned about musical theater in college, and then got a job with a theater company that was bringing a show to Broadway. And I came to Broadway with a show.
Wow.
And it ran one night. It just died completely.
That happens.
Yes, it does. It's not pretty. It's really hard because you've spent all your hopes and dreams on this one thing.
Right.
But what I saw in a beautiful way was that it took me from my childhood, from my school, from my college, where I was a composition major, in college. And so, but I wasn't the writer of the show, I was just a musical director.
Right.
And it was called Cleavage, a titillating new musical comedy close to where the heart is. I don't know why it didn't run longer, but it didn't. But it got me to
It's a concept.
Well, it was a way to get there. So it became the thing, it brought me there. You know? And then once I got there, then a new world just opened up for me.
And you've done a lot of Broadway, haven't you?
A good bit of Broadway. I've done a lot of national tours. I also taught musical theater at NYU for many years, on and off when I would.
When you weren't on the road.
It sounds like a fancy thing. I taught musical theater at NYU. They don't really pay all that well. So in order to survive in New York,
I've been one of those.
Yeah. You have to go
I've been an adjunct professor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you go on tour to make the money, and then you come back home, and then you go back and you're an adjunct again. But it was a beautiful thing. We would have students, and we would train them for their showcases for the agents and managers. You know what that is?
Sure.
And we would literally, our students would graduate and walk right into Broadway shows.
Oh, that's amazing.
What a thrill that was. It's close to I will ever be to being a parent. And I was so proud of my kids, I
know the feeling. Those kids are just fresh-faced and innocent and hardworking, and you just really want to help them, don't you?
It's the perfect time of their lives too. The development that you watch happen in young people and their talent between the senior year in high school and then the first couple of years of college is extraordinary. And that's when it happened for me too. As I developed, I really made my biggest strides through that.
Yeah, tell us about that. I know you won some awards as a young composer and performer. Tell us about that.
Well, the awards, let me see. There's the Dora Award, which was I was on tour with Cabaret, the show, Welcome and Bienvenue. And
great show.
Yes, it was a great show. In 2.5 years of my life, I was on the road with that, and I had some big stars like Terry Hatcher and Leah Thompson, and Andrea McCardle from Annie.
Sure.
People like that. And we, when we were in Canada for a while, I didn't even realize it, but they have something called the Dora Awards, which is like the Tonys.
Right, yeah.
And somebody called me one day, hey, you just won a Dora Award. I said, I don't know what that is. But I did.
I'm impressed, and thank you for telling me.
Yeah. Where is it? Somebody has it in an office somewhere. I never even got to hold it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's a shame. But through the years, I've, awards, recognition for things. The things that really mean the most. Just this past year, I got a grant from the Nevada Arts Council.
Wow.
Based on my body of work. And I said, my body of work? Said, yeah, those songs that you submitted. And I'd forgotten I submitted for it. But they give the grant, and then they just encourage you to, do some sort of a project to show us your body of work.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be doing that this year.
Wow, that's impressive. After you realized you had this talent, how did you know how to use it to make a living? People often wonder about this, and I know that viewers who have talent don't exactly understand that business. Yeah. You have been a very successful guy at it. Share your secrets there.
Part of what that entails is the fact that I've made my living as a musical director, as a pianist, as a vocal coach, a teacher, in the way that people will pay you to do those things. As opposed, as a writer, I consider myself a composer.
Oh, okay.
And yet, you don't make a lot of money as a composer unless you've written something that's a big hit.
Right.
And so that's always been the ongoing thing that I compose for the love of it. And when it's time to pay the bills, I get out there and I get jobs directing music and arranging music and things I can sell.
Okay.
For
your services.
So that just says that you have to be versatile. You have to have something, more than just one thing that you can put on the table.
And before you discovered Broadway, as a young man, you played Mozart, you played classical music, right?
Of course, I trained classically, and I a lot of Mozart, a lot of Bach. I played Mozart fairly well, so that seemed to be something that other people play Chopin better. I was better at Mozart, but I got one of my degrees too in college was piano performance.
Right.
So I just always have loved to play the piano, and training classically just gave me the background. Then I went into musical theater and really just started playing show tunes and things like that. But that training, that solid rock, if I ever could advise students, parents who have children, get your kids in some sort of a lessons class so that they can begin to really hone their skills.
And the way actors train in Shakespeare, musicians should train classically, you believe?
I think so. There's some really great jazz musicians who wouldn't know Mozart from, from, I don't know what to compare that to.
Right.
But it's not to say that they're any less of a musician because they didn't study classically.
Right.
But classical is like in ballet. You have your foundation, your technique you will learn.
Yeah, it's really, I grew up in a musical family. I have no talent whatsoever. Played the classical trombone for a few years. Then I played the drums, and my mom, who was a musician, a soprano, and a music teacher, said, those aren't musical instruments, you realize, right? And, but the other people in my family trained classically, and my sister became a classical musician, and her husband's one, and their kids both are. and I just love being around it. You know, it's just such beautiful, beautiful music.
It is.
You know, all music is great, but classical music just, you know, strikes my heart in the right spot, I think.
And mine too. People who play it well. I just recently signed on to a group on Facebook that fans of Leontine Price, who don't know who that is, the opera singer.
Sure.
And every day I just wake up and they've posted something new, and I just, it's a beautiful way to start my day to listen to that glorious voice.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. People have there are so many people with talent out there, and I often wonder, why does one end up on Broadway, be a Tony Award winner, a Grammy Award winner, and the others never get past the local Holiday Inn out by the freeway?
Yeah.
And maybe you can solve that issue for us.
If I could solve that issue for you, I would be sitting in my mansion in Bel Air, you know. But I'm not. I'm a working musician, so I've managed to work.
Yes.
And that's the best part of it.
That's
and
wonderful.
I think that's. I always said I think I'm too happy. People who are very disgruntled and people who are unsatisfied tend to work harder to lift themselves out. I've always been extremely happy with my life. I have a great.
That's a great way to be.
Yeah.
We would not recommend being cranky. We're going to be back with Keith Thompson in just a couple of minutes. Stick around. We got lots more coming. Hi, I'm Dale Davidson, host of Las Vegas Tonight. You know, radio has an enduring place in the heart of America. Sometimes it's music that can enliven your spirit or keep you company when you need some. More often for me, it's just been the right spoken word or two that can quiet my mind and soul. Radio brings me a reassuring word in the quiet of night or a welcoming voice early in the morning as I shake off the night's sleep and find my way into God's purpose for my day. And always, I find the best radio station is the one that brings me the best news, the gospel of Jesus Christ. My favorite radio station is KKVV in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's still right where it's been for years, at 1060 on the AM dial, hovering over Sin City like a gospel airship, broadcasting the good news of the abounding love that Jesus Christ has for every single one of us. No matter who you are or where you live, you can receive God's Word via the KKVV Gospel Airship. Just go to kkvv.com and click on Listen Live. KKVV is using all the tools that God's provided them, like podcasting and video streaming and video on demand, to produce programs that lift up our fellow believers and save the lost. If you feel a calling to speak to others about Jesus Christ on your very own show, pick up the phone and call the station. They'll be happy to tell you how. Call KKVV today at 702-731-5588 or drop them an email at kkvvradio@hotmail.com. Please join me in becoming part of the KKVV family. You'll be glad you did. Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. Boy, are we pleased to have Keith Thompson with us. He's a terrific musician, a composer, an arranger, an impresario, as we discussed in segment 1. He is the co-founder of the Composers Showcase, which is at Myron's at the Smith Center. And we'll get to more of that in a second.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about William Sloane Coffin and the Riverside Church when you were in New York City.
Well, when I got to New York, the 1980s were a very special time in New York City, all over the world, I think, but people were discovering a spiritual path, a journey that had to do with self-help and consciousness and things like that. That was a little bit different than just like the Jesus thing. There was a lot of Buddhism going on. Meditation was happening. Channeling was happening. Crystals, all kinds of things.
Remember all that.
And some of it was hooey, but a lot of it was a way to discover yourself and discover the spirit within you. And so I kind of started to take that path. And one of the things that kind of anchored me back to my roots was to find Riverside Church, which is just a big, huge, beautiful church in the neighborhood. But because, like you said, I studied classically, and their organist was amazing, their choir was amazing.
Oh, yeah, the music's great there.
Yeah. And then I just happened, then the sermon would be preached, and at the time, William Sloane Coffin was the senior minister.
Right.
And it was astounding. He was just extraordinary. Being the son of a preacher, Dad did a lot of yelling and banging his fist and telling us how we were all going to hell.
Pulpit pounding.
Yeah. And Sloane was just so intelligent, and he appealed to and truthful. He would just have a way of just getting through the BS right to the heart of the matter, whatever was going on in the world, in society, in life. And I literally, just a couple of years ago, was given a gift by somebody who knows that I'm a fan of the collected sermons of...
Really?
Yeah, there's 2 volumes of William Sloane Coffin. So I've got them in my bookshelf at home, and every once in a while I'll flip through them and just remember, because he's passed now.
Yes,
so.
I know. I know. It's... Preachers, good preachers have a real gift of speaking to your heart, and everybody in the room, everybody in the church is feeling the same thing. He's talking about me.
That's
Isn't
true.
this something? And he had that gift, didn't he?
It is so funny that you say that, because, when I was in high school, I thought, well, Dad's a preacher, I've got to. So I preached a sermon once. It was terrible. I was awful. And that's whenever I realized,
it's not easy.
I'm a musician. I'm just going to do that. I let go of that idea.
It's a different skill set. I mean, I can't carry a tune in a bucket. Well, maybe a little bit, but I can preach some. I've done some of that, so I do enjoy that. But we all have our gifts.
That's right.
Yeah, and boy, you've got yours. Well, tell me a little bit about what it's like to direct a Broadway musical, to be the guy in charge of making this thing sound good.
Well, you're pulling together a lot of elements, and that's really the thing. The different voices, the different instruments, the way they all come together into a single thing. It's how it all comes together to a oneness. And that, to me, I'm a little different than a lot of people. I do have the skill, meaning the craft that I've studied and that I understand all that. And I've studied under different composers and different conductors and musical directors to learn what I like, how my own style and how I like to do things.
Right.
But really, it almost turns into, for me, once we get past the initial elementary stages of teaching, the basics, then it becomes like an energy transference.
That's interesting.
You know what I mean? Like, how to almost bring it about by osmosis. And
you're in the zone. Kind of.
Exactly.
That's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
Yeah.
And that's the place I like to arrive at, and to get to the place where that is happening, and where people will respond to it.
That's the other thing about being the musical director. You literally are directing them into that same zone.
Yes, you have to lift everyone else in vibration, actually.
Yes.
To that place where they're functioning on a higher level, and that's the best you can hope for. So
did one of the Broadway shows that played here bring you to Vegas? Is that how you ended up here?
Something like that. There was a while back around 2004, 2005, 6, 7, right in that general area where there was a lot of Broadway shows coming to Las Vegas.
There were,
Strip.
yeah.
And the Smith Center had not opened yet.
Yes.
So we called it Broadway West, which was a phenomenon that didn't last as long as we hoped it would. But there was Mamma Mia, and I came with We Will Rock You, the Queen show.
Oh yeah, sure.
Not really being a rock and roller, but they knew that I knew how to do a show. And so that's why they wanted me there.
Music is music.
Yeah, because my band was all hard rockers from the Blue Oyster Cult and Meatloaf, and they were amazing musicians. I mean, and they looked at me like, "What are you doing, waving your hands around like that?"
What is that?
Yeah, and we had a little. Really took us a while
seminar.
to come together.
This is what this means.
But once we did, the mutual respect that came about, and the musical experience was just off the charts. And
wow.
one of my favorite shows I've ever done was that. And then that led to Hairspray, to the producers, and then finally Jersey Boys came.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was fortunate enough to be the musical director for Jersey Boys
Great
for the 8.5 years that it was here.
Great show.
And it really it solidified my place in this community, and it also solidified, like my life in Vegas. I decided maybe I won't, leave and go back to New York after all.
Yeah.
And so here I am.
So it's a different thing, though. With the Smith Center here, it's the road shows, right?
Yes, the shows that come through here are the tours.
Yeah.
But before the Smith Center, there was really nowhere for them. They would come sit down at one of the showrooms in Planet Hollywood or
not the same.
No, or Cashman Field. One of those. It was just awful. Vegas was considered a third or fourth year city on the national tours then, and now it's a first year tour.
Because of the Smith Center.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I have a relationship with the Smith Center because of the Composer Showcase.
Oh yeah, I know.
I was co-writer of a show called Idaho. It's a comedy show that
I've heard you talk about.
Oh my God, it was so wonderful. And the Smith Center actually produced a full production of it, and with every intention of taking it to Broadway.
Yes.
And we're still in the process with it, but there's something called the pandemic happened.
Oh yeah, that ruined a lot of things.
It did. It took out our community.
Yeah. And then many didn't come back. They found work somewhere else.
If they found work.
If they found work.
Got out of the business.
Isn't that terrible?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yes, which of course leads me to one thing I gotta say, is that with the Composer Showcase, at some point during the process when we were at the Smith Center, I was encouraged to become a nonprofit.
Right.
Because
it's a good idea.
Albert Mack, who's the with the Mack Family Foundation, the Thomas and Mack Center.
Oh, okay.
Mack.
Yeah. That one.
He's a really lovely man, very entrepreneurial himself, and he told me, he had lunch with me one day and said, if you were a nonprofit, our foundation gives lots of money to the Smith Center, but we would like to give money to you. If you were a nonprofit, we could do that.
Right.
And so I went, oh. Okay,
I can do that.
Yeah. So I tried. Took about 6 months. You have to jump through a lot of hoops.
You do, yeah.
And
I'm one myself.
Yes, very transparent. Everything has to be really on the up and up, and you got to do all your reporting and your board meetings and everything.
Yeah.
But we did it. And at first it was like, okay, now we're a nonprofit party, because the Composer Showcase is quite a little party. You know that.
Yes, it's a great party.
But we realized now we have donations coming in, so we established a scholarship fund, and we're helping young people to hone their crafts and become better writers and things, and that's great.
Sure.
And we're still producing the show.
Scholarships and
things.
And
boy, is it. Non-profit means no profit.
That's what I say. I'm a non-profit. I didn't intend to be one, but I am one.
I am still not profit. Not for profit, they call that. And then the pandemic happened, and it took us all out.
Yeah.
And I realized we as a nonprofit could do something to give back to our community, the community that had come together to help us.
I heard you talk about it.
So we call it the Entertainment Community Relief Fund, and we established it, and we thought, well, we'll just give some money to a few people, and to date, we've raised about $250,000 and been able to help over 600 people in our community.
Congratulations.
Small grants, but like $500 can pay the
bills.
Yeah, for at least a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Pay your car payment. Pay your kids' medication.
As you get back on your feet.
As you get back on
working
your feet.
as a musician.
And it's still happening. I mean, we're in the middle of the pandemic. It was frightening. There was a tsunami of applications were coming in. People needed help. But the generosity of this community in Las Vegas.
It can be a really generous town.
They really came through for us, and it's such a beautiful thing.
Tell me a little bit about the community and of musicians. Are they able to make a living in Vegas full time now?
More so. We're the scene, the entertainment scene, if you will, is back to an extent.
Yeah.
There are now venues open, and there are bands playing, and there are people singing at different places in town, but it's not like it was yet. So that means that there are some people who are now getting back on their feet. There's still a lot of people who are still struggling, and we're hoping that things will come back. When everything closed down, the entertainment community entrusted a lot of their their resources to Live Nation and AEG, which are the organizations that bring in the big names. Celine Dion and Adele and
the big time promoters.
Yeah, Bruno Mars, and they handle those rooms, and so all the casinos just handed over their big rooms to these companies and said, "This is the only thing that's going to work." And now in town, there's either Cirque du Soleil or there are the big concerts, and the residencies they call them, residencies. 5 shows and you're a residency. That's like doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, as a result of that, it's harder than it has been. I'm involved with a lot of different producers, helping them to try to go pitch ideas to the casinos to say, hey, there's something else you can do besides just plan on, hey, Lionel Richie's in town next week. That's not enough for us.
Yes.
We need more entertainment, like like it was back in the day. I can't believe I said those words.
There was a day.
Yes, whenever there were bands in every casino.
Yes.
7 nights a week.
Yes.
They used to have something called a relief band, which was the band that would play on everybody else's nights off.
Yes.
It's like I meet people who would say, I was in the relief band. It's like, wow. I wish we had one of those now.
I have a friend whose dad is a lead trumpet player, and he was in Glenn Miller's relief band.
Oh my God.
Traveling the country, and on Monday nights or Tuesday or whenever they had the day off, he would fly there and play.
Be in the band.
Yeah, isn't that something?
It is amazing.
Yeah.
I want more of that in our town. So that's what I try to do. I try to bring people together, and you see in the Composer Showcase all those musicians that they are donating their time. You know that.
Yes, I do.
And I can't thank them enough. And the caliber of musicians is off the charts.
Oh yeah. I was so impressed. They just would get up from their table and knock your socks off. Bring their instruments, lug them up there, and play. So, God bless them. You're the head of the musicians union here in town.
I'm not the head of the musicians. I'm on the board. I'm on the executive board.
You're on the board,
and I've been for about 13 years now. It's been the musicians union. I was always a union member from when I was in New York, and so when I came out here. All the shows we did for a while were union, but Nevada's a right-to-work state, which means that it's difficult for the musicians union to feel relevant whenever everybody says, "Oh, you don't have to use the union." Well, the union's here to
it's a quality issue.
Yes, to maintain the quality, to maintain the level of pay. That to keep that level up, and also in Las Vegas. The Musicians Union is associated with the Culinary Health Insurance, which is the best insurance.
That's great.
It's wonderful. So we really have something to offer, and also a pension program, which young people don't think they need until guess what?
You get to be my age.
And my age, right? Thank God for the pension.
Yeah. So, well, I'm a great believer in the union. My brother-in-law was the head of the union where he was in college and was the music director of that university, and it makes an awful lot of sense, and it protects the musicians.
Well, working conditions, setting standard minimum rates that keep up with the rate of inflation, so that you're not making the same $50 you made 2 years ago whenever things cost 3 times as much.
I know. He was telling me one time about a contract that defined a chair. And I said, well, why are they doing that? He said, because somebody, sometime or other, made them all sit on bleachers. So a chair has 4, it was like that. It was in their contract.
Oh,
Isn't that funny?
That's great. Yeah.
We're going to need to take another brief break. We're going to be back with Keith Thompson in just a minute. Please stick around.
lift your voice and sing with us, and let the truth be heard. Truth in every verse, every chorus, in every single word. Joining every heart in communion. Let's make a song of love, for strength and for hope, for the world. We need each other.
Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson. Keith Thompson is with us. What a great musician, composer, co-founder of the Composers Showcase at the Smith Center. He is. And boy, what a great guy. And thanks again for coming on.
My pleasure.
I had the opportunity to see a clip of God Lives in Glass, which is a show you wrote, correct?
I'm the composer for that, and co-lyricist.
Yeah.
So.
Tell me about this. And it's a God kind of thing, isn't it?
It is a God kind of thing, although it is technically a secular musical.
Okay.
So, what that means is Dr. Robert Landy, who is the author of the book and also was the book writer and lyricist for the musical that we put together, we got together. He's the head of drama therapy at NYU.
Oh, okay.
And while I was working there, a director friend of ours put us together, realizing that this was something that was very profound. He went all over the world based on some midlife crisis he was having and some questioning of his own young children to reach out to children and ask them to draw pictures, tell stories, answer questions about who and what God is. What color is God? Where does God live? Does God, wear underwear? Things like that. And literally the methodology he developed, he took all over the world to all the different cultures and religions and races and nationalities. And he collected the data without commenting on it. He's not trying to proselytize. He's actually a Jewish scholar.
Right.
But he was not trying to make a point. He was just thought it was really interesting, and more interesting if you don't comment on it and let the
kids do it.
The words of the children, the drawings of the kids. So then he had two books: How We See God and Why It Matters, and then his publishers suggested he come up with this little coffee table book that's very cute. Kind of kids say the darndest things.
Yeah. Okay.
Thing,
yeah.
But better than that because. It's really so deep in its simplicity. Like the title, God Lives in Glass. So they asked one of the kids, and where does God live? And she said, well, God lives in glass and is shaped by the wind.
Wow, that's profound.
It does sound profound. What does it mean? Who knows? But it sounds profound. And so from that we can learn so much. So I collaborated with Robert, and I was on the road at the time, and so I was writing while I was on the road, and the most remarkable thing started to happen. I had written a lot of music, a lot of comedy music, and a lot of pop and rock and country music in my life, and some classical. And then I started to write this thing, and it began to write itself through me. People who know me well and listened to some of it, and they said, where is this coming from? You've never written anything like this before. Yeah. And I said, I don't know. It's just, this is what it feels like to me. And so it's coming out of me. And what I realized, it became the fall production in 2003 at NYU's Steinhardt School of Music.
Wow, what an honor.
And it got produced. And then after a couple of tries to try to get people in, producers in New York interested in it, which is difficult because they don't like to touch anything that has anything to do with God. Even though this is not a religious musical, it's just about how children see God.
Turned out to be in a way.
Well, so then I came to Las Vegas, and we thought, well, I guess God Lives in Glass is dead. And then it wasn't, because when I started doing Hairspray, the girl who played Tracy, who's the lead, the young girl, was in this production of God Lives in Glass. And we said, well, let's do God Lives in Glass, let's do a concert. And we started doing concerts, and then one led to another, We've done it about 15 times here in Vegas, the concerts, each one getting larger and larger, finally culminating in a huge one at the Smith Center about 4 years ago. And it's just one of the most remarkable things I've ever been a part of.
Really?
And all I can say is, yes, it wrote itself through me, and yes, it has its own spirit. So the music itself people come and they don't know why, they just start crying. And they just are moved, you know.
Yeah.
I literally had one guy, after he saw one of the workshops we did in New York, I met some friends afterwards, and this guy was sitting there just weeping. And I said, "Are you okay?" He said, "The song you did about the boy coming to heaven." I said, "I lost my brother when I was young, and all this time I've never really figured out how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And then I heard that song, and it just made everything clear for me. And I was like, you never know. You just don't know if you just get out of the way and let that spiritual thing happen within you. If you can, that's the hard part, is getting out of the way, getting your ideas of what's right,
your ego and all of that. Yeah.
So that's the good thing about Godless Glass, that it doesn't attempt to teach or preach or proselytize. It just lays it out.
Well, that's the definition of inspiration, isn't it?
I think so.
And when they say, the Bible was divinely inspired, I bet you the writers of the Bible had that same kind of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Just put pen to parchment and out it came. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what you felt like, huh?
It is. I mean, I wasn't writing the Bible. I was writing music, and music is so powerful. You know, it's just the most, I think, powerful energy. The feeling of it, the sound of it, the keys. Each key has a different vibration that resonates with the vibrations of our bodies. We are nothing but vibration. You know that.
Yes.
So
that's a wonderful way of looking at it. I did some meeting planning in my life, and I always incorporated a lot of music. Entrance, exit music, stuff to get everybody riled up in the middle, and so on. And somebody asked me about it, saying, I see how you use music. I said, music's the most powerful thing that you can put into a presentation.
It totally is.
Yeah. And you felt that from being a kid on. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the future a little bit. What is your grand plan? What would you like to do more than anything?
You're assuming I have a grand plan. I'm at the point where I just want to continue to write. I've got several things on my plate. I'm trying to get to the point where I no longer have to work in order just to pay the bills and do things.
That's nice.
Do things that I don't necessarily want to do, so I can focus on the things that are true to me, part of my truth, part of my heart.
Yeah.
I've got several projects like that. I've got some musicals that I've been wanting to write for a long time and just haven't had the time to do it. So that doesn't mean that I'm going to retire. We call that work optional. But I want to get to that place.
Yeah.
And I'm close to that. I mean, I'm at the age now where it's time for me to start thinking that way.
Yeah. And legacy. Thinking about Keith Thompson's legacy.
Keith Thompson's legacy.
What do you want to do? What do you want it to be?
I think, the Composer Showcase seems like a simple thing, and it is a simple thing, but it's one of the most important things I've ever done because of how it brings people together and how it promotes original music. When I came to Las Vegas, I was told flat out, because I was a writer and I wanted to continue to write, and I was told, don't bother. They said, all Vegas wants is cover tunes and songs people know.
Right.
And I could do that, but I just felt so disappointed and not fulfilled. And then this started to happen with God Lives in Glass and also the Composer Showcase. And all I can say is we proved them wrong. I said
people love original music.
Love original music.
They do.
They do.
They don't know it until they hear it, but you go, what a great sentiment that was that somebody came up with.
Any given Composer Showcase, you've got about anywhere from 13 to 15 different writers, each one performing a different song that's original, completely original. Mostly people things they've never heard before, and people walk away and they tell me, this was the best one yet. This is the greatest thing. And all I can ever say is I just invited some of my talented friends to come share their music.
Isn't that nice? Mm-hmm. Isn't that nice? What's your goal for the music community in Las Vegas? You're a natural leader, and doing what you're doing now is a leadership role. People look to you. what do you think they should be doing, and what should they be looking to do?
We need to focus more on live music and realize that even though creating tracks is an art, and there are some kinds of music that do require a different sound than you can make with live music, like techno music and stuff like that. I'm not coming down on DJs, but I'm saying that the art of performing live music resonates so much more with people, and that's where I think we need to be putting our emphasis on original or not, live is important. That's why you will never hear a track at the Smith Center at a composer showcase.
Oh, I know that. And you look at, and I guess we can understand the economics of it.
Yeah.
But like I said, I grew up with musicians who didn't work as much as they could have. Had the track world didn't come along in the 80s, I guess is really when that happened. But it's a shame,
I used to produce, that was a business. I was producing tracks for beauty pageant contestants and things like that.
Yeah.
And there's a need for it.
Sure.
I'm not saying, like I said, it's a knack. It's an art to produce good tracks.
Yes, I know.
But so I'm not coming down on that at all. I'm just saying that the energy of live music and where we need to be as a community and a culture needs to support, first of all, artists who play, artists who get together and sing,
Right.
They're making the music like that, not, like some making fake stuff in the studio. That's not the end of it. That's, I go in the studio and I do fake stuff, and then I bring real musicians in the studio.
Yes.
I'm doing that later today.
Oh, you
I'm doing
are?
a session where I'm bringing live string players in to put strings on a track that I
To
need.
augment.
Well, they will actually, I'll get rid of all the fake strings and just
Oh,
live.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Because there's
Great.
nothing like it.
Yeah, and some of the lounge acts and that's a way to make a living, But there's tracks augmented by the band.
Yes.
And does that sound real? Is that a real thing to do?
Yeah.
He's thinking about it.
What that is that a lot of times when people tour, you can't count on when you go to a venue in Kansas somewhere that you're actually going to get a great sound man going to make your show sound like it is. So a lot of these bands who go out and tour will produce tracks, and they will play along to their own tracks, and the audience doesn't know the difference.
No.
Right? And so I don't begrudge them that at all, because I understand they're holding the quality of what they do. They're still playing, but they're playing along with tracks of themselves. And the bigger the venue, the easier, the more necessary that is.
Yeah.
But there are shows here in Vegas who do that, and it kind of breaks my heart, because if the power goes out, that show's over.
It is over. I know how that works.
Yeah.
Keith, I'm going to impose on you, if you don't mind. That's your camera right there in the middle, and I kind of warned you a little bit to say, why don't you address the audience directly? Talk about anything you want to talk about, but I was thinking faith plays such an important role in your life, we could tell in our interview, and maybe speak to those. We have millions of viewers, many of whom have no faith basis, never heard of Jesus, for example, and here's a chance to hear from an important man about how faith can play an important role in his life.
Well, yes, you have to, you don't have to do anything, but the spiritual journey that we undertake as human beings requires us to go inside. A lot of people look for things outside of themselves. They look to other people. They look to prophets and ministers and people to tell them what the truth is. The truth is within you, and the more you can take the journey within, to be still. One of my favorite scriptures is "Be still and know that I am God." The deepest things are "Be still, know, and I am."
Right.
And that's the most powerful thing. And once you find that, and it has to be part of your practice. Spiritual practice is what one of the great gurus has said. Guru, what do we do before enlightenment? And they say, well, you chop wood and you carry water. And then, and what do we do after enlightenment? You chop wood and you carry water. You just continue to live, and we will live. And the more you can find the spirit within you, and just trust it and believe it. And Jesus to me is a Christ consciousness. It's the elevated part, not the man, the frail and fallible man, but the consciousness of enlightenment, and that Jesus represented, and the power that is in that. So
very well said. Thank you, Keith. How do people get a hold of you and the Composer Showcase and donate to you and buy tickets?
We have a website, and it's called www.thecomposersshowcase.com. It's plural composers, so there's an S, there's two S's right in the middle of the word. Thecomposersshowcase.com. On that website, it's a very simple website. You can navigate around, you can see different videos and read about us and find out when the next one is. Or if you're a place where you want to tune in a live stream, we will make it available so you can link into our live streams.
Oh, okay.
And there's a donation place where you can donate to the Composer Showcase, or specifically to our Entertainment Community Relief Fund if you want to focus your and if you are somebody from the Las Vegas entertainment community and you are in need, please check it out, because there's a way to apply for financial assistance, and it's there for all of us.
And if you're a writer and you want to be on the showcase, get a hold of you?
Yes, there's a way to do it on the website. To submit. They say submit your, and I get emails all the time, submittals from people who, and then I get back to them, and it all comes right to the Composer Showcase Gmail address.
Well, it's got a really high standard. I was there at the last one, and I really enjoyed it, and I was pleasantly surprised at the quality level of the players that you had.
Yeah, I've been very, very blessed to have great, talented people, skilled people, charismatic people in my life that I can showcase at the Composer Showcase.
And speaking of which, hasn't he been a charismatic character for an impresario?
I guess so.
And all of that.
Yeah.
God bless you. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Keith Thompson, a terrific man and a wonderful guest. Please come back.
Okay.
We insist. As I try to remember to say each and every episode of Las Vegas Tonight, when it comes to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, please walk with him. God bless you.
As long as I've got a song to sing, a sweet melody I keep way down deep in my heart. When I'm feeling blue, the music can soothe me and turn me around. The tears in my eyes start to dry when I hear the sound. So I found that I can be strong and know I belong with a song to share. And when my heart sings, my soul finds its wings, and I soar. And I can't go on, there's no light that I see. I'll hear someone humming along, and I realize spine with friendship and wine and some harmony. Yes, I may be down, but don't you go counting me out. Hear me shout. There may be storm clouds and there may be rain. There may be trouble and heartache and pain, but I know that I'll get along just as long as I've got my soul.
Is there a love that is patient and kind, that always protects and trusts, always hopes and perseveres, keeps no record of wrongs? A love that never fails or lets you down. There is a love that embraces you and turns your world into color. It is real and tangible. Jesus displayed this love when he gave his life for us. Even when we fall short, he loves us unconditionally. True love is found in Jesus. We love because he loved us first.
Morning shine, shine, shine. Las Vegas, shine your light on me.
You've been watching Las Vegas Tonight with your host, Dale Davidson. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of our show. We so appreciate your loyalty to our program. To keep Las Vegas Tonight on the air, please go to our website, vegassaints.org, and click the Donate button. To send a check or money order, please make it out to Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries and mail it to 9030 West Sahara Avenue, Suite 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. To suggest a guest to appear on the show or any other suggestions or questions, write to Dale at dalewdavidson@yahoo.com or call him at 702-480-3989.
Shine, Las Vegas.